guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be taking a composition notebook. We know I absolutely love these things. And we are going to be deconstructing it and using all the pieces to turn it into a junk journal. So I've been loving making junk journals, and a composition notebook has the perfect pieces for junk journals. However, it's not perfect in the form that it comes in. The pieces are here. It's just not, it's not perfect in this form. There's too many pages all pressed together. There's no room for embellishing. So we're gonna take it apart. We're gonna cut it down. We're gonna reconstruct it, reinforce it. It's gonna be fun. Stick with me. Let's get this done. This is about the third time trying to do this voiceover, which tells me this is going to be a rough video, so stick with me. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm taking the seams out of the book by finding the middle of the composition book and getting some type of razor and just ripping the seams out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the front and back of my junk journal out of the front and back of the composition book. You'll see how I do that. And then I'm also going to cut out a spine using the outside of the composition book. So there's no right or wrong size for a journal. I personally like a journal that's about 8 by 5, 8 by 4.5. That's the size that I generally try to stay to when I'm making journals. That's just the size that I find is easiest to make for me. It's the size that I find is the easiest for me to use because it fits into a purse, it fits into a backpack. I can carry it around the house with me. It's not too big. So that's why I tend to make that size journal the most, because that's the size that I use the most. Of course, I take custom orders, so if anybody ever needs a size that's, not a norm for a journal, they just ask, and I would be more than happy to make one to that size. But that's the size that I normally make, anywhere between like an 8.5 to 4.5 to 5 inches. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm cutting down the front and the back of the junk journal, and then I'm just going to reinforce it with some of this Raisin Bran cereal box. That's what I love to use again for my junk journals. I like to use cereal boxes, and usually if I don't have a composition book, I'll just use a whole bunch of cereal boxes and I'll back them to each other with glue, and they turn out super sturdy. So now I'm just going to do that for the front and back of the journal, and then I'm going to decide how big I want the spine of my journal to be. Usually anywhere between, again, 2 to 3 inches is a good size spine for my type of junk journal, because I like to get at least 2 to 4 signatures in the junk journal. And I think with the way that I decorate journals, I just really like that extra room because it allows for extra ephemera. It allows for, maybe puffy pieces, puffy stickers, things like that. So I tend to do between 2 to 4 inch spines. This one is a little bit over 2 inches. I'm measuring 2 inches, but by the time it gets done, it's a little bit over 2 inches. So now I'm just going to glue all these pieces together, and it makes it a nice medium weight chipboard, not a heavy weight, but it's about a medium weight chipboard once you glue all these pieces together. You can use whatever glue you need. I usually use like an Aleene's tacky glue or some of the other glues that I have. I believe I have a Barely Art glue on my desk right now. I'll use glitter art glue. And then I also use reptile glue is another one of my favorites. And then I'm so silly, I took out this this thing to spread the glue with, and I still went in with my finger. See, I picked it up and put it down and then went right in with my finger. I just can't use it. It just doesn't work as well as using your finger. So like I said, just go ahead and glue all of these pieces together and then just set them to the side to dry. And I noticed that that was off a little bit, but just wait for it to dry and then you can go ahead and cut it down. Because if you try to cut it down now, it's going to be a mess because the glue is wet and it's going to start slipping all over the place and you're not going to get a clean cut. So just wait until it's dry if you see that something was cut wrong. So put them off to the side and we'll get back to those. So next I'm going to go ahead and grab the paper that I chose to keep inside of my composition book. This is really up to you. So I like to do, like I said, I'm doing 3 signatures in this one. Well, maybe I didn't say that, but I am surprised. I'm doing 3 signatures. I'm doing 3 signatures in this one, and normally I put in quite a mix of pages, but with this book I wanted to include a lot of journaling space, so I did quite a bit of composition notebook. So I did more than normal, and like I said, it's up to you how much notebook paper you use. I wanted to distress these pages, but I didn't want to get out the tea and have to submerge them, and that was just going to be too much. So I'm taking my little spray bottle here of vanilla extract and a little bit of water. I forget who I saw do this on YouTube, but I saw a crafter do this and I was like, that is so genius, because the vanilla extract just gives that hint of like aged paper to it, and you're not saturating your papers, so they dry in a reasonable amount of time. So that's all I'm doing here. Okay, so as I'm waiting for the pages to dry, and before I get all the signatures together, let's talk about ephemera and decorating. Okay, so I'm getting all of this together, and then I'll get my pages together after they dry. We'll get it all put together, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to decorate and put ephemera in there. So I would say 90% of my ephemera comes from the Dollar Tree. It's just a matter of making it more. So instead of using these tickets the way that they are, because they look really blah, I will take them apart. I will hole punch the sides. I'll add a little bit of ink to them. And I'll rough them up, and then they look like tickets. But like this, I don't think they look like tickets. But they have potential, that's what I'm saying. You know, these flashcards, they definitely have potential. Rough them up, things like that. So, let me show you what I have from the Dollar Tree. I hope the dogs are not going to sit here and whine through the whole video. Alright, so I've got these tickets. I use these for ephemera. Receipts, I use those throughout the book. I just pulled some of those. These flashcards, pulled some of those out to use. Index cards, you can definitely upcycle these. Just regular old playing cards, I grabbed some of those. I have some cut up scrap paper that I just randomly cut up from, you know, old projects. I've made some tags that I've just put to the side. I'll grab a couple of those. I've made library pockets. Again, I've prepared all this stuff ahead of time. I have a whole bin of things that I just want to grab from, and that's what I do ahead of time. Sometimes when I'm watching TV, I'll just go in and I'll make these little things, and I'll just line them up, and that way when I want to make a junk journal, it's all there for me. I've got a library pocket here that I can put, you know, on the inside if I want to, and then make a tag for it. This is doily from the Dollar Tree. They sell the big packets of them. I've got a couple different color of these note papers from the notepads. I don't know what that is. That's just a piece of paper I had in there. These are napkins from the Dollar Tree that I've just Mod Podged onto cardstock to use as tags or whatever I'm going to cut out and use them as. I have no idea. I just grabbed it. But again, this is just busy work that I've done while I've watched TV, or if I've been back here, well, Hannah does homeschool. She does homeschool literally right behind me here. This is the computer. So if I'm back here and she doesn't understand something in math or something, and I know that I have to be, you know, right here, then this is just busy work. I don't have to think about it. I'm not recording a video. I'm not concentrating on anything. I'm just doing busy work. So I'll do stuff like this. I don't know what that is, but I grabbed it. These are Project Life cards. I always pick those up when I find them on sale at Tuesday mornings. They'll have big packages of Project Life cards. I always pick them up. This is from the Dollar Tree, just a thank you card or something. I don't know where I got this piece. These guest checks I ordered off of Amazon. I ordered a whole bunch of them. I swear I have about 9 books, but they came at a really good deal, and I love using these in the junk journals. Just another card here. And then I have all of these that I just use randomly throughout. They're all the different rub-ons. I've got, this is not just one, it's got many different scraps. And then these are brand new. And then I love putting these in there. And then that's a brand new one. It's a rub-on transfer sheet, so I love having those. These are, again, just little busy work that I've done just to have. I've made faux stamps. Oh, look, I'm out. I need to make more. See, this is things that friends have sent me. I believe Karen sent me these. I absolutely love using these in my junk journals. They are tea bags that are stamped. I love using those. But again, I'll sit here and I'll take something like this and I'll cover it white, and then I'll stamp something on it and use it as a stamp. You know, I'll age it up with some aged vintage photo around the edges. So I need to make more of those. I've cut out butterflies, vintage small ephemera here, words and stamps are here. So again, I've just gone through any of these butterflies that I had left over from a project. You know, if I don't have the whole sheet left, then I'll just cut them apart. And then I've got some other little ephemera pieces that maybe I've used, you know, a little bit of the paper and I didn't use the whole, you know, the whole image. Excuse you down there, he's whining. So yeah, this is what I keep over here, and that way I'm all ready for. These are little pieces of, again, a sticker pad that I used a couple of the stickers off of, and it wasn't enough to save the whole sticker sheet, so I just cut them apart, and they're small enough to stick in here. And that way when I'm doing junk journals, you get, you know, a little robin over here, a little, you know, word. This belongs in the words. So it's really cool just to set yourself up, basically. By just doing a whole bunch of little busy work when you know, when you're just sitting around not really doing anything. Do some fussy cutting. That's what I do also too. See, some of this is fussy cutting. Like this one, I backed it, it was a sticker, and I backed it with some cardstock because I wasn't going to keep the whole sticker sheet. I had used most of the stickers on it. So I just backed it on some cardstock, and when I go to use it, it's just as easy to put some glue on the back of it as it is to peel off a sticky backer, you know? So just an idea for you guys if you haven't already, if you're into making junk journals and you haven't already created, you know, a little section ahead of time. It's just an idea if you're, you know, watching your shows or whatever. This is just busy work you can do ahead of time. Let me go get my papers together, and I'm probably gonna hit the paper with some hair dryer because I have no patience. Okay, so this is like my favorite thick paper to use. from the Dollar Tree, and this is what I use to wrap my journals with. So what we're gonna do is, first I want to square off these edges. I don't think these are completely square. Yeah, see, this one got off somehow, so let's square off these edges first. I want to make sure that we're really at 4.5, and it doesn't look like we are. Yeah, there we go. That is better. There we go. There we are. Okay. So now we have something that looks like this, but I still got a little bit of over there. Let's see. Well, it's a little bit, not so much, but we'll square it off. See if it makes a difference. So for this size journal, you're going to need to take 2 pieces of the white paper and just join them together. And you're just going to need a little bit of the second piece of white paper, but you're still going to need to join them together. And then you can go ahead and lay down your spine and your front and your back. And you're just going to want to leave like 1/8 of an inch between your spine and the front and the back. And that way when you open and close the book, you're not going to have an obstruction with the spine hitting the front and the back. So see how I place the front, and then I'm just giving it just enough area to move. And then you glue them down just like that. And then all you're going to do is wrap your cardboard with this white paper, and that's going to be like your first layer of putting this journal together. So what I like to do is when I'm using anything, I was going to say when I'm using fabric, this is my first layer, but when I'm using cardstock, this is usually my first layer too. So I really like to use some type of first layer. Like I said, I really like this paper. I also use shipping paper. They're from U-Haul. They give you these big sheets of shipping paper, and it's what you wrap your valuables in when you're moving. But I found that that's really good to use for this journal making also, just because it's a thin paper and it just joins the journals together as that first layer. So all I do now is I just go in and cut the corners out, just cut them straight out, and then just cut the corners out because I like to take out the bulk, because again, this is just the first layer, so I'm going to be wrapping fabric over this, and I don't want it to be really bulky in the corners. Now I'm just going to take my glue and glue down all of these flaps. All right, so I found this scarf that I got at the Dollar Tree. It's one of these, it was actually an infinity scarf, and I just cut it. So I'm going to use this to wrap the outside with, and then this is just one of those packs of like 3 or 5 poster boards that come in a pack. I'm just going to use this to mat the inside after I wrap the outside. I've used this Aleene's tacky glue in the past to
glue down fabric before, but I am selling this journal, so I want to use what I know works, and I really like the Fabri-Tac. I like the way that it holds the fabric to the journals, and so that's why I chose to use this, because I'm selling it, and I know that I like the Fabri-Tac, and I like how the Fabri-Tac holds and how it makes the texture feel after it dries. That's really important to me. And now all you're doing is just taking all of the flaps from the fabric, and you're going to glue those down also.
Okay, so I just hit all of these with the hair dryer and kind of crumpled them up a little bit because I didn't want them to look too perfect. And they definitely don't look perfect. So we'll go through and straighten some of these out. Well, not straighten them out, but fold them up. Well, no, we will straighten them out. Let's straighten them out because then we're going to add some other pages to them to make this junk journal. I'll show you how we do that.
Well, for junk journals, I like to have different kinds of pages in there. So I am cutting down some different pages. Right here, I've got just construction paper. And I also have some coffee dyed paper. I have receipts. I have graph paper. I have all sorts of journal paper. And I just pull through a box I have of all sorts of dyed paper, and I just pull out what I want and cut it down to the journal size that I'm making, and I'll go through and I'll just put those in between all of the lined paper. That way you've got plenty of journaling on lined paper, but then you also have these fun, colorful papers and colorful tea dyed papers and coffee dyed papers to put your pictures on, or to, you know, art journal or whatever you want to do on them. Here I'm just going through and putting them in order and making my signatures. I don't have a formula for how I do my signatures. I just do them until I feel like they're thick enough. If I'm making a smaller journal, I'm going to make the signatures thinner. If I'm making a larger journal, I make the signatures larger. So it's just up to you. So this is how I tell whether the signatures are thick enough, thin enough, and I've got them right where I want them to be. I toyed with the idea of putting that coffee dyed paper there, but I didn't really like the way that looked. So I'm just going to put this cardstock on the inside here to act as like the inside layer, and then I can stitch my signatures in. Now, I wanted my signatures to be stitched in and to have the stitching on the outside of the book, If you wanted to hide your stitching, you would have waited to cover the journal with the fabric until after your signatures were sewed in. But I intentionally wanted my stitching to be on the outside of the journal. That's the way that I wanted it to look. So that's why I did it that way. But if you wanted your stitching to be hidden, then please wait until after you put the journal together, but before you decorate, or after, yes, after you put the journal together, you can put your fabric on. Yes, that's the way it goes. I also like to pre-crease if I'm using cardstock because it's really hard to get that bend in the cardstock properly if you don't pre-crease it. So, little tip. I decided that the front and the back looked too perfect to be a junk journal. So I took some gesso and I went in and just put some gesso on the edges to kind of age it a little bit so I could go in with my vintage photo, to give it something to stick to basically, and to give it some texture. I really like texture on fabric. And so I like to put the gesso on it and kind of let the texture from the fabric just kind of seep through the gesso. This gesso is really thin. I've worked with a thicker gesso before, but this gesso is really, really thin. So if I just take it and just streak it along the edges, I'm really sorry I'm out of focus because I'm just streaking it on the edges, and you can kind of see how the fabric just like peeks through with little wrinkles, and you can just see the fabric underneath the gesso. And I like that look because then I go back and I put the vintage photo on top of it and it looks really nice and aged. So that's all I'm doing here. If you wanted to leave it looking perfect, it looks beautiful. The fabric is gorgeous, of course, on its own, but I just wanted to go ahead and put some gesso on it. Maybe next one I make I won't, and I'll see how I like it that way. I'm briefly going to explain how I put my signatures in here, but I have like 8 million things going on in the house right now, so it's going to be loud and noisy in the background, and I'm not very good at this. So this is not my expertise, sewing these signatures in here. I love making the journals, but sewing the signatures in here is not my expertise. I will tell you, there are two YouTubers, Nick the Booksmith and the Paper Terrace. If you want to know anything about junk journals, anything, go to these two YouTube pages, Nick the Booksmith and the Paper Terrace. I'll try to link them down in my description box below. They are like the goddesses of junk journals. They will tell you everything you need to know about junk journals. So this is my way of trying to get the signatures in my spine evenly all I did was I folded the paper up and drew some grid lines so that I would have 3 holes in each signature evenly spaced. So that's as far as I can explain it to you, because I don't know how to explain it any better. Like I said, go to those other YouTubers. They will explain this much better. I'm using a bookbinding kit that I got on Amazon. It was a great price, and it has everything you need in it. It has wax string, it has needles, it has the piercing tool, and it has everything you need. I'm just gonna let you watch me do it. Like I said, if you need any more information, go ahead and find those 2 other ladies. They will explain everything about this step. I'm using the same exact template that I used to pierce the spine, and I'm going in and piercing all of my signatures now using the same template, and that way they should all line up. After I got all the signatures all sewn in, I'm just going to go ahead and start making some ephemera for this. I'm going to have another whole video showing you how I just sit down and relax and just make ephemera for my junk journals. For me, it is super relaxing to not have a big project to do. When I'm doing these junk journals, or I'm doing a journal in general, sometimes they take me 3 or 4 hours. That's just for a plain journal. These junk journals take me days sometimes, days, depending on how detailed they are. And those are kind of rough on my brain because I go to bed thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. So just doing ephemera like this is relaxing for me because I can get it done really quick, and I get a finished product and I get to look at it and say, oh, that's pretty, which is a lot more satisfying than having to wait 2 weeks for a memory album to be done to be able to look at it and say, oh, this is really pretty. So that's why I think that these ephemera pieces are, relaxing to me, because they come together so quickly.
Okay guys, I am completely done with this journal. I am going to do a flip through and show you exactly what's in the journal. We're going to make it super quick because my battery is dying, and we're just going to get this done. Okay, so on the outside, you saw me do some of this gesso. Of course, my phone's going to go off. And there's some paint. I did a tassel here on the side, and this is just all of the different ribbons and fabrics that are in the journal. I went ahead and just made a tassel out of them, and they're hanging off the side here by a nice bail. Okay. And this is going to be listed on Etsy too, so if you want to go look at it and have a closer look at it, you're more than welcome to go over there and have a look. All right, also I wanted to let you know, this is what I like to do with the strings that come from sewing the journal together. I like to leave them long and then add some beads to them just for, dangles. I also left the binding on the outside of this. I didn't hide it, and I really like the way that that looks. I just did a 3 pamphlet stitch to get all these in here. Okay, let's go through it. So I did an assembly style, and I really like that. I went and watched a video by the paper Terrace, and she does an assembly line style when she does a lot of junk journals, and I went ahead and did it just for this one junk journal, but I will be doing that definitely when I make several, because it was so much easier. You pick out what add-ons you want to add on to your journal, and then you just make a couple of them at a time, and then when you go to put your journal together, all of your little add-ons, you'll see what I'm saying, are all done, and you can just put your journal together super quick. Okay, so here's this little library pocket in the front, and I just have a little cutout that I backed up on some chipboard. The first signature here just has a lot of paper. I left a lot of paper for this because I wanted it to be more of a writing journal than anything else, but you are more than welcome to add photos or memorabilia, whatever. And so I have lots of ephemera pieces and things like that for you to write on, and I wanted it to be really vintage also. That's why everything's like tea stained and coffee dyed, because I wanted it to look real vintage like. I'm trying to cruise through this too, because like I said, my battery's dying. I don't know how many pages are in each signature. I have no idea. I didn't count. I just put them together, and when it got to the weight that I wanted it, you know, thickness that I wanted it to, I stopped. I went ahead and did some stamping in these. I did some bee stamping and some butterfly stamping. I've got sentiments on all these little pieces. I really enjoyed putting this journal together a lot. I've got some tabs here with fabric, made out of fabric pieces. Got some side collage pieces. Just lots of journaling though. And this is and I use lots of different papers for texture. This is a belly band I made. And it's got an envelope with just some little vellum pieces and a my fingers aren't working because it's freezing in here. I'm trying to air out the house because it smells like puppy dogs, but it's like 60 degrees out, so my house is freezing now. So my fingers don't work. These are just a couple dyed things that I put on there. Again, a side collage, little fabric tab here. A little belly band, tag. You'll see this. This is what I'm talking about with the center. This is the center of the booklet, and I leave them long to tie the beads around the center there to have dangles. These are the papers that I did the vanilla extract I sprayed in the beginning. These are flip outs, little pockets with vellum down here. It's actually not vellum. Haha, it's parchment paper. Little bee. Pocket. This is the third signature. Another little tab, fabric tab. Out of nowhere, it just shut off. I have no idea why. Anyway, we've got a corner pocket here that I scalloped. I did a scallop punch on with a little tag in it. Almost done if my fingers would work. More paper to write on. Another envelope here. I've just got some just scrap paper cutouts here. Paper, another side collage. So you can kind of see what I pre-made. I made the side collages, I made side pockets, I made the flip out, this side flip out right here. Well, now I can't find it. I think I have another. This one. I made a side flip out. I made these little book page pockets. I made those. So that's what I'm saying, assembly line. I just made a whole bunch of little page decorating. And then after I made them all, then I went back and filled in the book with stamping. Then I went back and filled in the book with any edging, like the tabs and the ribbon. And then I filled in the book finally with the pre-made page fillers. And then this is just the back of the book. And I put this clear pocket on here. I've got 2 tags. And it's just got some decorating here, but it's a very strong, sturdy little book. I love it. It's super cute. It's got this beautiful little boho tassel that's got matching, actually matches, because I took some of the fabric that I used for the book and I put it in here too. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I hope that you enjoyed seeing how I took a composition book from the Dollar Tree and turned it into this beautiful little work of art. Again, I'm going to be putting this up on my Etsy channel. If you're interested in it, please head over there, Chaotic Mom Crafts, and I will see you in my next video. Stay crafty. Bye-bye.